guys, it's Ash and P.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello.
I'm a little bit of a stickler. A stickler. There's that word. Pickle.
You're a strict stickler.
Strict stickler.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did I just step in his piss? That's what I'm thinking, right? Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
No. We're back.
Yeah. Yep. That one. Good thing you can slice. Good thing you can slice. Oh my gosh.
Music is by Dust Bowl Champion. To hear Dust Bowl Champion's newest hits, search Dust Bowl Champion on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
Hey.
We are super excited.
Yes.
We have a new guest on, never before heard on Swap, Real Ash and P, goodness. Super excited. We have Destiny de la Cruz joining us here. Thank you so much, Destiny, for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And just so everyone has a little bit of background on Destiny, Destiny is 27 years old, and she has her bachelor's degree in mass communications of journalism, film and media arts with a minor in anthropology. She's our little wise old owl. Loves outdoor cooking, camping, and being out in the wilderness, kind of away from city life when she gets a chance to. She's married to a wonderful, sweet man that I get to call my brother. So she happens to be my sister-in-law, and I'm so happy to have you here, Destiny.
This is going to be fun. At first, it felt like a dating show. Like, this is her, this is how old she is, this is her degree.
Yes. Yes. She stands 5'7", red hair.
Actually 5'7" too.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Wow.
I know my chicks when I really want to set them up, and I want to be a madam.
I'm not sure how your brother would feel about you being her madam. I mean, I don't know. You know, if times get tough, maybe you guys can get that figured out.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Well, they just celebrated. So congratulations. You just celebrated your second anniversary.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
2 going on 20.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way because we were together, Tony and I were together so long before we got married. And so when people say like, oh, how long have you guys been married? Most people like only dated for like 2 years and then got married. No, not us, 7 years. So it's like, well, we've only been married like going to be 8 years, but we've been together like, forever.
Yeah.
So
how long were you guys together, Destiny, before you guys got married?
10 years.
10 years.
Which
okay.
sounds like a long time, but when you're young, it's really not a long time.
Yeah.
I was 26 when we got married, and I feel like that's a really good age. Nico was 30, so.
Yeah. No, I think, you hear a lot of times people saying like, oh, like you guys have been dating for X amount of years. Like when are you like 6 years or whatever, and you're not married yet. But yeah, you're so right. When you're with someone at a young age, you really don't want to get married before you're ready to get married.
And there's a lot of factors going into marriage, like financially as well.
Yeah.
So if you have a huge support system, you might get lucky enough to get married when you want to. But in reality, that's not something that's accessible for a lot of people, and which makes sense. A lot of people in their 20s and 30s now are just doing an elopement and then like a small intimate party with their family because it's just more financially like possible.
Well, I think that's so true. And this is what I honestly, one of my favorite things about Destiny is that like she lives right here on Earth with everyone else. Like I always say like I'm a realist. And so to me, like the idea of something and like the foofiness of it all doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't click with that. Like I'm like, okay, well, that's not real. So, like let's think about this, and how that actually affects people. And so it's just kind of funny because I always feel like that's where I've really, really grown my relationship with Destiny, because I feel like she is that at a very young age, I feel like you were like that's not like a realistic thing. Just because I love my boyfriend doesn't mean I should marry him at 18.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I think that it's really easy. I see it so much in people today, especially where they have this idea and this persona and this like, well, this is what I've always wanted to do or be, or how I think that, I want to see my life, but it isn't always like reality. I mean, in reality, I love my children, and even at my age, even at 40, I could possibly have more children, but in reality, financially, that's a big undertaking. Having more kids. In reality, does it still make sense for my family to have a 20-year-old and a baby? No, not really. Not, not really. And so I'm always of like, when it's time to open the chapter, you open the chapter, but know when to close it. And also know like there's no rush to it. And I'm also one of those people too that I like to like do and not just say. And so I'm like very careful and cautious about what I say, because I don't ever want it. Like I would never be like, oh, even when I knew Destiny and Nico were like, that was it, right? Nico was done. This was it. This was his person. They were each other's people. I wasn't going to be like, wow, when's the big day? When's the big day? Because it's like, I know it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. And I appreciated that. But I always love that about you, that I think that you are very sincere with knowing your realistic expectations and goals of even yourself, and not just living in this la la land of I'm in love, so I'm just gonna get married.
Well, I think a lot of people are just dreamers, and it's good to dream. It's very important. However, if you only dream and never take action or risk, then you're just one of those people that's constantly having all these ideas and you're not putting any effort into any of them. I have a few people in my life like that, they're
Yeah,
always like, and if you don't know them well, you think they're being serious, but I know that they're never going to do any of the things that they say they're going to do. And it sucks for other people because you might want to invest or do it with them, but you realize they're actually not serious. They're just dreaming for fun because they
yeah,
like to do that. And they're always going to be a dreamer, not a doer. And dreaming is just the first step.
That is why,
yeah,
that in a nutshell is exactly why I wanted you on, because I like anytime we're around each other, I love having conversations with you because like P said, you are such a realist. You're not someone who is, yes, you have dreams, yes, you have aspirations, but you're not over there like, oh, everything's perfect and everything. I'm going to have this, I'm going to do that. It's not like that. It's like setting real expectations for yourself and real goals that are achievable, things of course that you want to do, but not things that are like, yeah, girl, that's never going to happen. And so you're so logical and you're just so dang smart. I just love picking your brain
Well, I
because
appreciate that.
I just I just love to hear your thoughts on stuff because I think you're so logical, whereas so much of I think of society now is so emotional.
That's
And
very true.
I love to hear like logical conversation, right? Like of course emotions come and that kind of thing, but I love hearing you talk.
Well, I appreciate hearing that people like having conversations with me because sometimes I worry that I'm not very likable because if you're too logical and not emotional enough, you'll be seen as cold. And that is very off putting to people, especially if you're a woman. You're expected to be like soft and personable and kind to everybody all the time. And I feel like personally that I shouldn't have to give that like softness to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
and
And
there's
I
this
don't
one quote. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
no,
There's
no,
the
what's the
people
quote?
always say because I have a couple of girlfriends, and I think that I'm a little bit harsher than they would like sometimes, which I understand. But a lot of people say honesty without kindness is brutality, but kindness without honesty is like kind of cowardice. And I would
Hmm.
Yeah.
choose brutal honesty over kindness any day, though. And I guess
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on who you are, though, and it's okay if you don't feel that way. But to get to know me and have a relationship with me, I think that that's something you're going to have to accept. And I think it's harder for others to accept that.
Well, we know nothing about that because we are so soft and so sweet all the time. No, I 100% agree. I will say I do feel like as I've gotten older, I've learned how to soften my approach a bit more. And I think that that is something that I think as long as you're open to it, I think life in itself will help you with. But like I love strong women. I mean, I'm like attracted to strong women. Like I like naturally gravitate towards them. I think that I have some of the strongest women in my life as my closest friends. And I'm sure that a lot of that comes from just obviously my personality. But I feel like there's places for women without that, that maybe struggle with that, and maybe that's something that they work on. They do have more of a meeker personality, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's beautiful. I pray all the time that God helps me to be more like Mary. I pray to Mary that she helps me be more like her, because I do want to have that soft spirit about me, but at the same time, I'm a doer, and I so I want to cut it all out. Don't give me the clouds, don't give me the sun. I just want to like get the work done. And if I'll get my hands in, I'll do what I need to do. And I wish that everyone had a little bit of that in them, just because I feel like, um, you know, we need strong people in general in this world today. I feel like I think we're at this turning point right now in the world where we've seen kind of both sides of taking the softer approach to things. And then also the harsher part of it, which is I think early on in the amount of wars that we fought as a country, and the the lack of like humanity that we had for people, back in the day, when you think back about serious topics like racism and things like that I feel like we've come a long way. Are we 100% there? Absolutely not. But we know we don't ever want to go back to that way, I think, as a whole. But it's also finding the balance. We can't just, be soft to everything. We do have to be strong. And we have to make our own ways, and we have to make our own waves. And luckily, not everyone, I think, is given a fair chance to make their waves, and to make their way in life. But I feel like usually, when you are willing to get down and dirty and fight for it, you can make your way. And what I love, and you can kind of go on this on your own too, but what I love about what I see in you is I think that although it probably feels like for you, maybe, I don't know, it might feel to you like, oh, sometimes it's taking forever to get, to a place that I want to be. I feel like you're on the slow and steady path. Like maybe it's taking a little bit longer, but you're not like really ever falling back. You're always moving forward. It's just maybe some steps are big and some steps are little.
Mm-hmm. No, I really do agree with that. First of all, going back to what you're saying about as you get older, learning how to soften like your seriousness and your strength. That's something I'm currently learning, and that feels pretty good too, because it feels like power in itself. Like sometimes if you're loud and like mean, you feel like at first when you're immature, you feel like that's strength, that's power. Then you realize learning to control yourself, that's where true inner power is,
Yeah.
And then going forward to what you were saying about the slow and steady path, sometimes I get so frustrated, like, what am I doing wrong? Am I made the wrong choices and they're just compiling? And I realize the place I was last year is not, from the outside looking in, it's actually not different than where I am this year, but everything has changed internally, and that has made like my life completely changed. And it was all about my mindset, As cheesy as that sounds, people say it all the time because it's true.
Yeah.
Nothing has
Yes.
changed in my life, really. Not yet. But I stopped having a pity party. I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I started reading more philosophy, listening to motivational people and successful people and like minded people. And just digging myself out of that rut has made me feel full of hope and knowing that I will get there. And I can't compare my journey to other people's journeys and be like, if I don't have what they have, then I'm wrong, I'm bad, I don't deserve it. You have to get rid of those thoughts, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So you finished college. How long have you been out of college now?
I graduated in May 2022.
Okay. So, can you talk to us a little bit about, you're in a kind of different place in your life than we are, us old biddies here, 40 years old already. You're in a much different spot, but it's important because I think that what you've gone through after college life is what a lot of people deal with, or maybe if they're listening and they're our age or a little bit older, maybe their children have dealt with. And so, coming from your point, like, what has it been like after you graduated? You have your degree, you finished school. Everyone's very proud. You're proud in yourself, and you've completed that accomplishment. And then what?
So I would love to talk about this, and I'm going to start with college if that's okay.
Yeah.
And a quote I would want to start off with was by one of my favorite professors. He said, because I was struggling at the end of college, he said, "When I graduated, it felt like a trauma." And a lot of people are like, what do you mean by that? And it's because now what? You've had such a structured, this is what you do to get this. You study and you participate and you get good grades and then you earn your degree. It's very clear what you need to do. And then once you get out of college, it's like, guess what? Figure it out. You know. But let's go back. I went to community
Yeah.
college, and I thought community college was great because a lot of people go to college because they don't know what they want to do. And while that is a noble pursuit, I do believe it sets a lot of people up for failure. Because if you are just there trying to figure it out, you got to declare your major pretty quickly. You can start out with general education, but you have to declare your major. And you only know the fields of study that were introduced to you in high school or that someone told you by mouth or that you saw in the catalog. You don't really know. And that's just the first step. That's your field of study. That's your degree field. But then what jobs can you get with this? And yes, in school they do talk about that. But for me, looking back now, I think going to college without a clue of what you want to do can be tricky to end up being successful in whatever career field you chose. However, if you know what you want to do and you know, I need to get this degree to get that job, I think those people often are successful because they're going to college to study this field because they know they have to in order to get this career, which is why I think STEM is incredible. You know, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Rarely do you see those people struggling outside of college to get a job. If anything,
Yeah.
their college experience is a lot more difficult than the average college student because the curriculum is so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so so I think that comes back to getting any type of arts degree. It can be difficult, and not art as in painting and drawing, but anything Bachelor of Arts. I think that can be difficult because just because you enjoy studying what you are studying doesn't mean that you're going to like the career options or that there's a lot of career growth in those fields. So,
Right. It doesn't translate into a career and a job necessarily.
yeah.
You have to make that or find it or figure something out on how to use it.
Because what are the
Right.
two most common? The freshmen that declare majors, you're going to hear psychology and you're going to hear business,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
And
because,
then everyone's going to graduate with their communications degree.
Communication.
yes. And it's like, hey, so what are you going to do with that? Or when you talk to a freshman, an 18-year-old who's like, I just love psychology. Yes, we all like psychology. You going to be a psychologist? Do you want to do
Right.
that? I doubt
Yeah.
it. You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So there's that little trick of I like what I'm studying, but then what?
Right.
Yeah.
However, this comes back to it is good to go to college though. You know, some people like me, I was trying to find my way, and if I didn't go to college, then I don't think I would have been making good decisions. So it was better for me to nose the grindstone being studying, even though if I could go back now, I would have changed my career field. So I studied mass communication and journalism, the film and media arts option. So a lot of what I was studying was film related because I wanted to go work in film. Ideally, I wanted to work in documentaries because I like real stories, helping people tell their stories. And I got some co-producer experience on a short film with my professor, and then with one of my peers, I was a producer on her film. So I got some of this experience. I was surprised at how exhausting being a producer was. And when you're on set for like 12 hours sometimes. Like, it's just an exhausting day that isn't comparable to a 12-hour shift in a different job. And I was surprised at that, but I wasn't mad. However, there was two rude awakenings. The first one was, if you're going to be in that industry, you're working project to project, which is not for everybody.
Right.
And the worst one for me, which would be awesome to other people but was awful to me, was my professor at the very end was like, you have to move to LA if you're going to be in this field. He's like, you're not going to get work. You need to live in LA. That's the absolute last place in the country I think I'd want to live, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Especially right now.
Like,
I don't blame you.
Do that? Like, what? And the film industry has some issues, and it's just the project to project work. And then LA, I was like, oh man. So that was hard, as much as I love film. However, my degree was also in journalism, which I've always been interested in journalism. I used to say that if I wasn't in a serious relationship, I probably would have wanted to do conflict journalism. So war correspondence. The only reason we know anything about war is because of journalists with boots on the ground recording it. Because besides that, who are you going to trust? The
Right.
State Department, the countries that are fighting, like, and their representatives, I think it's trickier to trust what they're saying than a journalist putting their life on the line just trying to get war coverage. So I think it's a very important job to do. So anyways, I got out of college. Loved college, by the way. I hated high school and I loved college. It was so much fun just learning, and it's all up to you. There's no punishment, so how well you do is up to you. And I got out and I got into, well, I was applying everywhere for so long, and I applied to a master's program, to grad school, and I worked for weeks and weeks and weeks on my package, and I really thought I had a chance. I talked to my professor. He had a tiny bit of an in there, and I didn't get in, and it broke my heart. And I know people are always like, you need to wait a couple years depending on your field, especially like in film. They want you to go do work first and then apply for a grad program. But I applied, and that really got my confidence down when I got the rejection. I was so bummed because when you're applying to a grad program, you're essentially applying to work alongside a professor. They have to want to work with you. They're not just teaching you, you're working together. So they have to be interested in what you bring to the table. So it was kind of like, you're just not good enough for us, like in a genuine, worse than a work interview way. It was like, what you're bringing to the table, like, we don't want it. And so that was hard. Anyways, I was applying to lots of jobs. Since I graduated, I've probably applied to like 200 or 300 jobs, I bet you. So I've been out for 2.5 years. So I bet I've applied to 100, if not more, per year. Even if I had a job, I was still applying. So that's a real thing. And you'll hear other people say those are rookie numbers. So you don't know.
So go ahead, Ashley, sorry.
What kind of jobs are you applying to?
All sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. I could be applying for a job that is minimum wage, entry level with a bachelor's degree, and not even get looked at. It's pretty crazy sometimes. I don't know what's going on, but you'll hear it. You'll hear people my age talking about how hard they've been trying to get jobs. So I'll apply stuff I'm interested in, that's in my career field, but I'll also apply for a ton of other stuff and get maybe one call back after 20 applications.
So you hear these people say, like, we can't find workers, or we need workers, or we can't find,
Yeah. I'd love to
people.
know what the deal is, because I constantly hear
Yeah.
on social media people saying, okay, the employers are saying they need workers, and then job seekers are saying they can't find work.
Yeah.
So I would love to know the statistics. I would love research to be done of figuring out what's going on,
Yeah.
because that's an issue. So going
There's your
back to,
documentary.
I know, right? Going back to journalism, which was part of my career field as well. I got a job in journalism. I was doing well. It's a local newspaper, news writing, and I started getting, like, I got an offer or two from a bigger newspaper. I was getting recognized, and I was doing well. And my favorite, I liked writing, and believe it or not, my favorite part was interacting with people, like meeting people that are strong members of their community, and they were so kind. However, I'm sure you can imagine why I would feel disheartened to be in journalism, to be in media. There's a lot of issues with media, and you often don't get to write what you want to write, or why you want to write it, or how you want to write it, even on a small scale. It's not like I'm trying to blow the doors open on something. I'm not an investigative journalist, but
Yeah.
from the very get-go, there's so much control. And then I thought in my mind, what's the highest level of this career? And I didn't like what it was going to end up being. What, go to a major news outlet?
Where you're completely censored.
Yeah, where it's ran by a couple organizations. What's the height of this? What is, if I bust my ass and I get to the top, and then what? You know, I ran into that. Okay, well, and then what? After this, where does this path lead? Am I going to be happy when I'm already controlled on a micro level? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get lucky and you'll be one of the reporters at, what is it, the Washington Post. There's a few news entities where they're the ones that really do the big stuff, and no matter how much trouble they get in, they blow like the doors open on some huge stories. So that's a tiny possibility that you'd end up in that. And then you always have people on you, and it's just like a stressful thing of how much backlash you're going to get if you even get to write the stories you want to write. So I quit. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And some things were going in my life, and I was just feeling really antsy, and my degree field's not working, and I don't know what to do. Like, am I not smart and capable like I thought I was? Because you're in college, you're doing well, you're like, all right, I can handle life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get out and you're like, okay, have I been so naive this whole time and thought I was doing better, or I was more smart and capable than I actually am? Like, why is nothing working? Am I being too picky? Am I wanting too much of myself? Well, no, that's not fair, because this is the only thing I want for myself, is to like my career.
Right.
Is that really such a big ask? And depending on who you talk to, they think it is too much to ask. There are people who can clock in and clock out, hate their job, push paper, work in a factory, and not care at all. And that's okay. That is okay. I wish I was one of those people. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah. 100%. That's Ashley.
I don't hate my job, but I am one of those people.
Yeah.
But
it's not like your most fulfilling career, right?
No.
Like,
oh gosh, no, I wouldn't be doing
it's
it.
all about just, you got a paycheck. You clocked in, you clock out, you get your paycheck. That's where you're at. And that's where we're so different in that way. Not that we're so different in the way, like, as far as I don't feel that way. It's just that I took a different path, and then I actually really got the taste for it, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, wait, I could do something really that I actually really loved. And see, when I grew up, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. It's like, I don't know, I want to be a mom, because that's all I really knew, is like how to be motherly and how to like take care of kids. And, that was always kind of just instilled very young in me. So I knew I wanted that, but I didn't know, like, career wise, what my options could even be. And so education wasn't really forced in my home, or wasn't really encouraged, however you want to put it, which is probably why I did a different approach with my own children, and with in my way, because I just felt like maybe if I had had that encouragement, maybe I would have figured it out, but I didn't. And so, you know, we whatever, life goes on and you figure it out. But when you start to do something that you really enjoy and you start to find like, I'm actually good at something that I really like, this is awesome. And trust me, it's not like I'm super successful because I'm super wealthy and rich, but I always feel like, and I tell this to Tristan all the time, I tell my own kid this, it's like, all you need to do is find something that makes you happy, that you get up and go to work and enjoy your day. And if you can pay the bills, you're successful. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
success. If you can put food on the table for yourself and you can make a life for you and you can enjoy something that you do, you made it. You made it because you don't normally get that, right? Like you gotta either you do the job that you don't really like, but it's a job that pays the bills, and so you just gotta stick it through. And then as life goes on, you add kids, you add a mortgage, or you add more bills, however that may be, and so it becomes harder to get out of that and find something that you actually really want to do. Or you can do something that you love, but you make absolutely zero money doing
Yeah.
it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, so,
The choice is yours, you know? The
so
choice
that's, I
is
mean,
yours.
that's true. It's like, that's tough. And I think it's important for people to hear that because I think it's hard. Um, we are easily able to say, like, we look at younger generations and we go, oh, there's so many things that we're like, okay, well, you got to be stronger, you can't be weak, can't be this,
Yeah.
can't be that. But there are real struggles that they do go through. And I really do think one of them is the workforce, and whether it's a whether it's college or a trade or straight to work, whatever it is, for some reason it's not as easy as it was when we were younger. Do you agree with that, Ash? Like, I feel like it's not as easy. Like, you've been with your company for what, 15 years?
16,
16
almost 17,
years.
yeah.
And although you still had to test and do things, I don't know. It just, for some reason, it feels like those jobs are even harder today to get than they were when we were younger.
And I think so. I started the company 16 years ago. So I was what, almost 23 when I started. Is that what I
Mhm.
would have been? I don't know.
Yeah.
Math is not my thing. Okay. This is why I didn't go to college. Okay. JC is for me. But even then, it like getting into the company is very hard to get into. And I think it's even harder because of things. And Destiny, I would like to hear your thoughts on this because, um, you know, where I got in was entry level. So you didn't need a bachelor's degree or anything like that. However, if you have a bachelor's degree, you're going to have like a higher likelihood of being hired. And now I feel like not speaking within my company, but I feel like in a lot of jobs I hear that even for entry level positions, you need a degree. And so it's like these kids are so me, I'd be completely screwed. I don't have a degree. And if I had to have a degree to have a job, I would be screwed. And then you have these kids who maybe like I don't think college is necessarily for my kids. I do want them to at least go to JC so they can see, is it because like I feel like Hayden would be a lot like you. Hayden hates high school. He thinks the structure of it and all of that is stupid. He doesn't want to be there. He thinks it's dumb. But I don't think that it's like because of education. And so I think if he had his own he could make his own schedule. Nobody's saying like you have to be here right this minute kind of thing. Or your mom's going to get called and have to go in for a meeting for attendance. None of that stuff. I think he will see things differently. So I really do want them to at least try JC. But for some people, I don't think college is necessarily their thing.
Totally.
And there's trades, obviously, that's perfect. But what about for people that there's not necessarily a trade that they're interested in and college isn't for them? Then what? You have to start at like
Fast
the
food?
very,
I don't know.
yeah, like,
I mean,
I mean, so kind of curious about that because I feel like now you have to have a degree almost to get a job.
You're exactly right. And I do think, so maybe our parents' generation, it was very much accurate that you could get into a job at 18, entry level, and if you wanted to, work your way up pretty far. If you are to do that now, I don't think you can get as far, if that makes sense. I don't think you get as high. People are also living longer, so those people at the top are staying in jobs longer, and they can't afford to retire when they want to. So that plays a big role when it comes to our parents' generation. And then for our generation, I felt like it was told, at least to me, that the whole idea is if you go to college, you'll get a good job and you'll be successful.
Yes. I
And
think even at our age.
so that is the whole idea. And it's kind of, it can be true. How about that? It can be true. But to act like that's the formula is false. There is no formula for success. There are only recipes, if that makes sense. It's more like cooking. It's not science. It's an art.
Yeah.
And yeah, so entry level jobs, say maybe 15, 20 years ago, if you had a bachelor's degree, you were getting that job. Now it's expected. Everyone has a bachelor's degree. They're a dime a dozen. Our entire generation, it has to be half of us probably have a bachelor's degree now.
Right.
So that means nothing. It's about your experience. So now I have to have a job to make me money. And while I'm going to college, and I also have to do internships and extra projects to be able to get that experience related to my future career. Because you're not going to be able to work in what you want to go into after you graduate. That's rare that you can get a job in the field that you're studying. So you're working and you're going to college and you have to do all these extra things for free. It's unpaid labor, which that's a thing people don't talk about. Internships, in my opinion, are bullshit. It's it's unpaid labor. And it's not like back in the day where if you did this, we'll offer you a job. Rare does that happen.
I agree.
Say, thank you very much. See you around, basically. And that happens in all sorts of fields. So exactly, I don't know what they expect the average college student to do to ensure they get a degree. I mean, this last year, since I made a total different turn and try to do some soul searching of what do I want to do with my life, because I would like to get into a career field and stay in it for a long time. And that's not always financially beneficial for an individual either. I think one thing our generation has started to do is they'll leave for a better job or a better pay. With like, I don't care, we're not family, this is work, we're not family, and I'm gonna do what's best for me and my family. That's one cool thing about our generation, I think. And I have a friend who's had the same job since high school, which has been 10 years now. And one thing she said that I thought was pretty cool is she said, I think I'll do a lot of different things in my life. And you wouldn't expect that from somebody who's been in the same job and has a college degree and doesn't plan on leaving anytime soon. But I like to hear that people are willing to make changes and don't have as much of a fear as I think the previous generations did of leaving. So,
yeah.
So let me ask you about that too. So I totally hear what you're saying. And as far as I think it's easy, well, I think complacent is like the easiest thing, right? Like we all can be complacent in our jobs, in our relationships, in whatever, that we just kind of stay flat because we don't want to rock the boat because it's actually a lot of work to rock the boat, you know? And so to take a leap off and do something different, it's work, it's scary, no one wants to do it. And so you stay complacent and you just ride it out, ride out the wave. And maybe there is a next step, but we're too afraid to take the step. But then there's also that, like, I notice when in my previous job that when I would look at people and I would look at resumes and I would see that there's this big age bracket of people. And I would say it's probably 22 to 36, let's say, that have like several jobs. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like 17 pages of different jobs that she's had like in 5 years.
True.
Like,
that is true.
Whoa. So
not a good look. really, it's not that
No.
much.
So where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's just the quick money grab or the boredom, or where do you think that comes from? Because a lot of them do have their degrees, and it's not like they don't sound like they could have it, but as an employer, you get scared of like, well, does this person know what they want to do? Because they're obviously hopping around for some reason.
In my opinion, this could be wrong, but I think you're right on the nose with it, is that they don't know what they want to do. And you don't know until you try it and you're like, this is not it. So you leave and you keep trying new things, and maybe that's not good, but I assume that's probably why people do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If they don't want to work, I think that's a minority of people that's like, I just quit because I don't care. I think the majority is more like, this is not what I want to do. Because if you stick, I think with people my age, the ones who stuck with it are still in those jobs. The ones who didn't want to be in it, and they're like, I don't want to do this forever, but I also don't want to bounce around, and they're still in those jobs from high school. Not that they're not successful. They are. They're doing well. They've moved up in their companies, but they
do you think they're
didn't
happy?
want to do it. No, I don't think they're happy.
No.
But I don't think they're unhappy. I just don't think they're actively like, I like this.
Yeah.
I think they're like, this is a pretty good deal. And I've been here for so long already, and I'm moving up, and they're offering me the supervisor position. They're offering me management position. They're offering me this. It's like, well, I might as well stay.
Yeah. I think, like P, you were saying, we get complacent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like Destiny, I wish I could be that person, like how you are not going to stay somewhere if it's not for you. Like,
but I want to find that place though.
But that's important.
Around. Like, I have friends who want to and are like kind of plan on it, and I ideally, I wanted, probably in my life, I'd like to do 2 career changes. I want to do my career I'm going to work in for the next 15 or 20 years, and then maybe see if I can go something towards my own business or a passion project. That's the 2 things I want to do in my life.
That's great.
Like, I don't
wish
that go the corporate bouncing around ladder. That sounds awful. It sounds so stressful. Oh, like having a new job every few years just because this place is offering you $5,000 more in salary. Some people, that's their thing, and that's kind of promoted to you on social media. Like, this is how you build your life. That sounds it's very shitty to me. I don't want to do that.
I feel like for me, I get so everyone's like, oh, well, my kid, he doesn't know what he wants to do. Why don't you get him in with PG&E? Well, because you get him in and we make good money. And what I learned at a very young age, and why I stopped going to school, was that I need money to live. And when I am at school, I don't have as many hours to work at a job that pays me. And if if I was at a job making maybe just minimum wage, I think I would have felt different. But I was at a job where I was, in management, and I was making more than minimum wage. And it was, okay, this is great. I could work 40 hours a week and I'm making decent money. I wasn't ever going to be rich off of it, right? But I was making decent money. And so that's what I did. And then my next job was because they offered me more money. I went there, right? But I was never looking for what I loved. Honestly, even growing up, I knew if I were to be able to do a job that I wanted to do because I loved it, I knew what it would be. And I would have had to have gone to school. And I don't know that, I think money-wise, it was, that job doesn't make a whole, they make fine money, but they don't make a whole lot of money. And when you get out of school and you can start making money and you don't have to worry about being at school all the time, it was like, okay, well, I'm making more money now than I would have in what I feel like would have been, my ideal, what I wanted to do. But for me, it's like money and like that guarantee. Obviously nothing's guaranteed, but I have a retirement.
Yep.
I have insurance. I have good pay. And if I were to, even now at 40, I feel like I have to stay where I'm at because I'm working toward my retirement. And if I leave now, then I've put in all these years for what? And I'm going to have to start over. I'm probably not going to get a pension anywhere because I don't know that pensions really exist in most companies nowadays. And so it's like, Like I have caused this hole for myself where I will stay because I'm too scared to move to do something that I want to do, because I like knowing that all of these things are basically planned out for me in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, I don't know. I feel like that's where I get stuck, and I don't want my kids that way. I want my kids to do something they love to do, because I think that is so much more important for your own happiness, for the happiness of your family around you, your friends around you, for you to love what you do. And so I've tried to tell them that, like, it is not about making the most money. Now, mind you, Hayden just wants to make the most money. He doesn't care. He's just like, how can I make a lot of money? And I'm like, can you please, well, what do you want? Like, what do you like? What will you want to do? Because you don't want to be 40 being like, oh my God, I have to go into work, you know? And that's where a lot of people, I think most people get stuck in that pattern. You know, so
100%.
good for you for saying, obviously you don't want a lot of changes, but good for you for knowing that you want to find what you love.
And
You
I
want to
do
enjoy
want to
it.
work my way up, and I'd love to start at the bottom and learn how to do the job and work under people, and then eventually be a leader and bring other people up. I think that'd be great. And working with multiple components in some kind of managing position to where I have to put all these different pieces together is very appealing to me. And going back to appealing, of what you're talking about is making good money and having retirement and having all these benefits. That is very appealing. And when
Yeah.
I had left my field and things were going on in my life, and I was just kind of getting so frustrated, starting to lose my mind. I'm not working. I need to build a life for myself. What have I done? I didn't know what to do, and I also wanted to leave so bad, so I signed up for the military.
And on that note, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. When we come back, we'll talk more about that. Segment music by Callie Grace. For more of Callie Grace's hits, follow Callie Grace on iTunes and Spotify today. Hey guys, we're back.
Hey.
Okay, so right before we went on break, Destiny, you were talking about how you felt after college, and then after you left your field and had a job, feeling like you needed to get out, and you decide military.
Yes. So I had always thought about the military, and looking back now, if I wanted to join, you should do it right away. I don't know if that's a good thing to say, but if you're gonna join, you should go at 18 probably. You're gonna get out, and you can go to college.
Why do you think that? Like,
because it's a lot harder as you get older. I think that's a pretty standard belief across the board. As you get older, it's a lot more difficult to adjust to military lifestyle after living a civilian lifestyle. So that's a big part of it. And then also being married is a difficult part, because you're going to be away from each other. So when you know nothing and you haven't gotten used to regular life, it's going to be a lot easier for you to adjust into that kind of life. However, I joined, I was super excited, and the big part was the benefits. I'm going to get money, I'm going to get health care, because think about the age I had just turned.
right.
26, I had lost my health care, and my husband's job would not give me health care. So you get a retirement. Maybe you can do 4 years and get out, and you'd be able to buy yourself a house with the military house loan. You could go back to college and get it paid for. It's very appealing. Or you could stay, work your way up, do 20 years and retire and go get a different job. How people do, like, it's so appealing.
Yeah.
There's, for a reason, because there's so much downsides to it. War is just one of those downsides. There's 50 other very difficult downsides. However, I'm still going to do it. I was like, what's 4 years? What's 4 years? I'll be out at 30. However, it's the tale as old as time. I went in, I got medically DQ'd in basic training, which is a thing that happens. So you get sent home for a variety of different things. It can be almost anything, and you can get a waiver and go back. But I was like, no, I'm not going to. So,
Is it common, like, in all branches, in the branch that you
all
across the
branches.
board?
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
very common to get sent home during basic training for a variety of medical issues. It could be you broke an ankle. It could be you have kidney stones. It could be could be anything. Even if you don't pass your first PT test, if you're overweight or you didn't run fast enough or you didn't do like it for any reason, they could send you home. So that happened, and I felt like a kicked dog. I was so sad because it was such a big choice.
It's a huge, huge choice,
Yeah.
huge step for you.
And I wanted
You're married.
I'm married. I wanted to leave. I wanted to provide. I wanted to have some life experience. I wanted to serve my country and do something that felt important, because that's something I think I've struggled with in my other career choices, is not feeling like I'm contributing to my community, to society, to my country, not doing something tangibly important. So I thought this would be a way for me to do that. I just want to do something meaningful, and to everyone that's different, right? But for me, so that was hard. I have never been so humbled in my life, and I do think that is very valuable. But it took me a long time to get over that. A long time. And I'll always be one of those people that didn't make it through. So that's a little bit difficult. But I had been in a dark place for a long time. I was so depressed, and I just felt every day I just couldn't wait to go to sleep. And I just didn't. I was not happy at all. I was in
After coming back.
after. I mean, before kind of too, but then after it was really bad. I had come back in time for Christmas, and so for that whole year, so that was 2024, all of last year, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with my life? I want to do something important that I can work my way up in. And I was like, you know what makes sense for me is forest service or fish and game. And I still think that's a great idea. However, I spent all of last year trying to get in 2 jobs I thought I qualified for sure, because I have a bachelor's degree, but then also on certain jobs on the government websites, they'll say what they expect, either an experience or schooling, and you have to give your transcripts to show I've taken these classes that fulfill these requirements. And I would be on there every day as soon as I got out of bed, Cal jobs and USA jobs, and I didn't get anything. I got one call back for Fish and Game, California Fish and Game, but it was a 5-month temporary job where you're camping 4 days of the week, and you are no cell service. And I was like, I already was about to be away from my husband all the time, and I decided I'm basically not doing that. So why would I go and do that? So that was the one job I got offered, a temporary job, and I declined it. And then since then, I haven't gotten anything back from Forest Service or Fish and Game or a variety of other government departments, which is tough because those are all entry-level positions. And I have a bachelor's degree, and in my opinion, it felt like that meant actually nothing.
The bachelor's?
Yeah. The bachelor's degree felt like it was essentially like nothing. It feels like, oh, you went to high school? Cool.
So which is heartbreaking because it wasn't free.
Luckily, I don't have a lot of
and it was
debt, so that is nice. But all my friends who have a bachelor's degree have a ton of student debt.
Yeah. And it's not just that it's not free, but it's like it's also a huge commitment. It's years of your life that you're committing to this, because the idea is you educate yourself enough to go into the workforce and stand a chance of getting something that you can put your feet down on. Mm-hmm. So if you can't, why? What are we doing here? I mean, I think that some people go to college for completely different reasons, but for the most part, the idea is even as a parent, you send your children to get an education to further their education because they've already been educated, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to further, they're taking the next step that not everybody has to do, but is taking upon themselves to do. And so you hope that with that comes the next step, which is a career.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like my degree wasn't relevant, because mass communication, anthropology, and all the courses I took, of course, there's a ton of stuff that's relevant. So any degree is going to be somewhat relevant to a job, because they're going to have to teach you a little something when you're working anyways. They're going
Right.
to have to teach you how to do the job. Some
Right.
careers don't even like if you have too much experience, because they want you to do it their way, not the way you did it at wherever. So
that's a good point.
And
You know,
trade school is amazing. I will say, like, when I have children, if they don't want to go to college and they don't have some other kind of plan, I think trade school is really cool, because
I agree.
it's a direct, we're teaching you how to do the job, and then we're going to help you find a job. It's pretty awesome. You know, I mean, my husband, he went to culinary arts school, and now he's a blue collar worker in a trade, working in electrical. You know, you never know where you're going to end up. You just have to do something.
Right.
For sure. I am a little bit curious about your thoughts on this, Destiny. You know, since neither P nor myself have a degree, what I've noticed a lot and this is just, I feel like within the company I work for, is that they want you to have a bachelor's, but they don't care what it's in. For a lot, some of the jobs are like, okay, for land management, they do want you to have like environmental and stuff like that.
Yes.
But for a lot of positions, it's desired qualifications, right? So they're not the requirements, but desired. And so they want you to have a degree, but it does not specify like what degree.
I think
just
that is
bachelor's.
correct, with the only exception of you're applying for a STEM job, they want you to have a STEM degree. But everything else, as far as I've seen and what I've been told, is it's just a bachelor's degree. Like you said, they don't care what it's in, because that's the bare minimum. They don't care about your degree, just that you have one. They want to see your experience too. So how do I have experience if I just got out of college? But to get this job, I need experience. How do I have experience in this career field? How?
Right? You're like, I'm 24. I just got out of high school, college, and what do you? Yeah,
and
that is
where
insane.
internships come in.
Hire me, and then I'll have experience.
I would love to get experience.
They're like, how about
at your
you work
company
for free? Counter offer, you work for free. And we're like, oh my God.
You're all, yes, that's what I've always dreamed of.
I'd love to.
That's why I went. That's
I
why I
love
went
eating
to school.
ramen and rice and beans.
Wow. So really, for people that don't know what they want to do, let's say you're in school, you don't know what you want to do, you're doing GE, and you are, okay, well, it's time to transfer. I mean, is it smart? And no offense to anyone that has it, this was my major, so I'm not talking trash, but is it smart to just go communications, because it is one of the easier degrees to get? Like, what do people do with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to college, you don't know what to do, I guess it's better than doing nothing. I would just suggest to apply for grants and scholarships so that you can not get in debt hella. And I feel, you know what, this is controversial, but I feel bad for the kids who don't want to go to college, don't know what they want to do, and their parents force them to go to like a private college, and then they are getting out and there's tens upon thousands of dollars in debt. And they didn't even know what they want to do. I'm like, send the kid to JC first, or uni. Go to uni. Just go to something like in the state, or, you know, so that's a tough one.
I think it is tough. I think I'm gonna come on another side. So, you know, sending Tristan to college. She did want to go, so that was good. She wanted to go to college. 100%. Is it her first choice college? No. But it was pretty up there. She really liked the campus. She really loved the college, but her first choice would have been going to a private college.
A private arts college.
A private arts college that was going to be buco money. But in all honesty, we basically said, apply, see what happens. And for whatever reason,
if you really want it and you have a specific idea, that's different.
That's different. It didn't work out. It didn't happen. And I remember we'd gone to, we've gone to her school several times, and we'd gone to the school, and we liked the campus. We liked, everything about the area. And the trip before it was like going to be go time, we go out there and we're doing like orientation or something. And she basically kind of freaked out on me and was like, I don't want to go. What if I don't want to go? What if I want to take a year off? I was like, the fuck you are? I'm taking a fucking year off.
The old gap year. The old
never gonna
year.
fucking go back. I'm not born yesterday. I was like, you're not sleeping on my couch. No. Thank goodness I was hard pressed with it, because the job that she had, which she had had through high school, they closed down randomly, so she would have had that job. And I know that they're finding their way there. It's just like there's no real like complete, like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, this is everything. But I feel like as a parent, when I sent her there, it was like, I need you to figure it out. And you hope that within 2 years, which is why I think JC school is amazing. Within 2 years of, all you have to do is get your GE done in 2 years. You don't have to know anything. You're just getting further educated at this point, right? You're taking another step into getting more education. And maybe you study something and you go, hey, I really actually like this, or I think I kind of actually want to do this. Is the hope that you can have as a parent, I think, to send your kid to school, whether it is JC or university, it doesn't matter, wherever you're sending them, because you hope it turns into the passion, the job, the something sparks, something lights. And it usually would take 2 to 3 years, I think, for someone to kind of figure out what kind of path they want to start. And it's going to change their kids. I mean, I know people that have changed their major several times. I know people who got their education, got their degree, got into the field, and then were like, no. Nope, not what I was thinking, and that is not what I want to do. And all of those things are okay, but I think there are a good amount of kids, and I think it comes back to probably our generation seeing like the ones that didn't do anything, and then they're stuck. And the last thing you want to do is get your kids stuck not doing anything, right? Like, you want them to always take a step in the next stepping stone. And it's so hard to think about, well, they could just end up like not doing anything with their life, and what happens, and you want the best for them, and you're so scared, and all of these things. But then I'll have a flip side. I know people, I have family members that love college so much that they keep going and they keep going. And yes, they love schooling, I guess. But at the same time, I think that they're scared to actually go out into the real world and truth. Actually work.
Whether they like it or not, that's the truth.
It
may be hard to hear, but just because it's hard to hear doesn't mean it's not true. It's true. Because I was the same way. I was desperate to get into grad school because I was too afraid to enter the workforce because I didn't know what I wanted to do or how I was going to do it. Or this idea, do I even really want it? Do I want to do all things to get to that point? So yeah, it's a little bit of a cop-out. I'm just going to keep going to school.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, okay, how much more, how long are they going to be in school? Because they just keep going. You know, it's like, I get it. They are enjoying it. But at the same time, at some point, you're going to have to
You
go get a
have
real
to.
job, right? Or are
Yeah.
you just going to start teaching? I don't know, but you better do something. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you can't be the student forever, you know?
Yeah.
totally.
I think that's so true. And now, I mean, for those people, how much debt have they racked up?
Yeah.
Debt
I don't want to know. I don't even want to
racking
know.
up that debt is something. I think one of the big reasons why I used to, before the kids got a bit older, I was always like, oh, my kids are going to college. They will go to college. They will get degrees. And that's what's going to happen, right? I didn't do it. They're going to do it. It's going to happen. And now, okay, Deja has a degree and she did that on her own. She's busted her butt and she got her degree. Kyla is in the process of she got her associates. I believe she got her associates, but then she decided she wanted to go into nursing.
Mm-hmm.
So she went into a nursing program. But when it comes to the boys, I'm like, I don't want I'm not in a position where I'm going to be able to pay for them.
Mm-hmm. So you have to figure out how
I'm
you're
not
going to
in a
pay it all
position where I'm
off.
going to take loans out for
Yeah.
them
So how are you going to pay
because
it all off? Because you're doing all this
yeah,
schooling, but you know once I'm done with school, I'm going to get this job, and I can even do the math now. I'm going to make this much for starting, and then within this many years, I can pay it off. But most
yeah,
people cannot figure that out because they don't know what job they're going to get afterwards. If you're going into the
exactly.
medical field, you're going to pay off your student debt. You know, but if you're
Sure.
going to something
Yeah.
else, I don't know, good luck. Because the average person, my guess, if you're going to a CSU and you're getting a bachelor's degree, I'd say you're probably going to be like 20,000 in debt pretty easily. I'd say that's
Oh, easy, more,
I'm yeah.
more.
It's like if you're getting a little bit of aid or you're getting grants or you're applying for scholarships, you're easily going to have 20 G's. Even if you went and got your associate's degree at
More.
JC first, and then you spent your last 2 years, you probably still at university you probably still spend about over $20,000.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Unless you your family wasn't making a lot of money and you might be able to get some financial aid. So, but
Yeah.
you have to be people have to show you how to do that. It's really difficult to do it on your own. So maybe you
yeah,
deserve to get financial aid and yet you're not getting it because no one's going to help you with that 50-page application, and you have to go into the office and you have to do this and you have to prove this and this and this. So, who's to say?
yeah,
Yeah. I am so I feel like that's where I'm like, I'm not interested in forcing college on them because I know Hayden would not go. If I didn't say anything, I don't even know that he would go to JC, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. I am interested in forcing JC on him because it's paid for through the
Mm-hmm.
state. If it wasn't paid for through the state, I think that that's inexpensive
Mm-hmm.
enough that we could handle that. But to go to UC or,
A
you know,
private college or something like that.
yes, anything like that, I am just like, I can't do that because I know I'm not going to be paying for that. That's something he would have to pay for down the road. And so those kids that are going grad school and continuing and getting multiple degrees and things like that, rather than getting into the workforce is ouch.
Yeah,
I
especially if
just,
you're in the arts field. Like you're not in STEM, you're just in the arts field, like continuing your education, continuing, kind of for what? Because grad school will open a lot of doors for you. So if that's what you're aiming for, because it's a huge networking opportunity, is to find out who you're going to work with or who you're going to work for. So that's one thing. But I was almost the person that's like, let me just continue schooling because I don't know what to do. And if I would have
yeah,
got into that grad school, I would have done it. So
yeah,
I get it. And this comes back to if I had a kid, if you had a kid and they really don't want to go to school in California, like you said, go to JC, figure it out for a little while. Why not? But if they really didn't want to go to college, I feel like I really want them to go to trade school. It's like, okay, at
yeah,
least go and make decent money and do something that you'll always have this career opportunity. But then you can do
yeah.
other things too. Like, say you have a passion project or you want to start doing something else, you can do that, but at least you'll have this for now.
Well, I think
Yeah.
what's amazing about trade schools too is, like you said, I mean, they're learning a skill and they're helping them actually get these jobs, which is really what all schools should be doing,
Yeah.
all colleges should be doing. They should be helping them get into these jobs. If they're going to force internships and all of this stuff, then set your students up to do that while they're in school, getting those experiences so that they can get the experience after college to actually have that background. But you need to help them do that.
And what's the
They
market
can't do
look
it on
like?
their own.
If you're at school and the administration or the teachers aren't going to be able to set you up at jobs because there's not enough jobs, then why are you letting all these students into this program when you know
Yes.
the job market isn't going to be able to handle all of them? So
Yeah.
that's a big thing too. And one thing I think about a lot personally is job security, like whatever job you're going to get in. Is it not recession proof, but is it close to that? Or is what you're doing so easily to fall all apart? An example of this is a pretty extreme example, but content creators on TikTok. Good luck. You made that your whole life? A platform can
Yeah.
collapse very quickly. So I think
Yeah.
about that with a job is what your job based off of so easily to get taken away from you no matter how well you're doing?
Well, I mean, look, you and I have had this conversation about journalism and about newspapers specifically. It's like this is a dying beautiful art because yes, it's fantastic and it is a special unique gift that there's still newspapers today, but the cost of print is astronomical and it is almost impossible for businesses to continue to print
Well,
newspapers
the
today.
demand's not there. If the demand
They're
was there,
absolutely everyone
people
reads everything
would
on their
pay for it.
phone.
If people
Everyone
wanted
reads it
it,
on their
they'd pay
phone.
for it. But people don't want it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you think about things like that. That's the other part of the trade school is you think about the jobs that they're learning are more blue collar workforce jobs in most senses. And so there's always going to be a need. And even if for some reason you choose a trade that you are not necessarily crazy about after you've gone to school and you've learned it, you're probably going to be able to use that in life, in your own personal life as time goes
Yeah.
on.
And you're probably going to have work. You're going to have
Yeah,
options for
yeah,
work.
yeah,
So that's a big appeal. That is a huge appeal because all trades are pretty much needed no matter what's happening to the economy, no matter if there's a recession, the housing bubble pops, if there's a pandemic, there are certain jobs that are still going to be there. So those
yeah,
jobs, that makes me want those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
However, the world needs artists, and I'm not really an artist. So sometimes it's difficult for me to wrap my head around when someone wants to make art. And when they're close to you, I think it's easier to be harsh on them. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to put your eggs into this basket? It's so risky and it's so hard to make a living. But if you weren't close with them, you wouldn't be saying that. You'd be like, oh, that's good. Good for them. That's cool. So I think that's one thing I try to be better about is just because I'm not an artist doesn't mean I should over rationalize what someone should do with their life. And I think that's something I struggle with too. Going back to being logical, it's like, hey, well, that's a sketchy career field to be in. And
yeah.
yet, but we need artists. And then if they made it, you would have been the person saying they shouldn't have done that. So, something like
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say something about that, but I think that we have to do this as a two-parter.
that.
Are you good with hanging out a bit longer,
Yeah,
Destiny?
no worries.
Okay,
I'm
good.
here.
Perfect. So if you're good with that 2P, then we can go to part 2. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can. Everyone can come back next week for another
Yeah.
listen because I have questions that I have to go back to. I was telling Destiny earlier. I have questions I have to go back to, but I want to hear more about this stuff too.